All right, folks, today we're here to learn about the parts of a hammock system for hammock camping. The three crucial pieces of gear that you are going to need to bring to a site are a suspension system, the hammock itself. I also have my bug net in this bag with it, and a tarp in most situations. Most important, irreplaceable piece of gear that you are going to need are anchor points. In a camping context, that's almost always trees. You want a tree that is at least 6 inches wide, with the width of your hand, that looks like it's in good health, so no extensive bark damage, mushrooms growing, hollowness, dead leaves, etc. You want not any egregious large dead branches that could fall down on you, and you want space around it with room to guy out your tarp lines and the fabric of your tarp to come out taut, again, if you're pitching a tarp. Since tonight is looking to be a 0% chance of rain, we're probably not putting up tarps tonight to be able to better enjoy the breeze and the views. Okay, time to start setting up. The suspension that I'm using right now is straps and cinch buckle system. I like this because I have a lot of length of strap, which lets me do things like hang on extremely wide trees like that. And these cinch buckles are pretty convenient for attaching a hammock, but I'll show you that a little more up close as I'm attaching the hammock. For now, I just need to get these straps around each tree at about the right height and oriented in the correct direction. All right, so as you can see, I have the strap wrapping from the sewn closed loop end around the backside of this tree and then coming out with the standing end. I'll have it running this way for my hammock. This is helpful because it distributes the weight solely around the tree and reduces the amount of excess tension and friction wherever you're coming through. You don't have to use a carabiner here. I like to, for quickness and convenience, and because these are quite lightweight beaners. But a lot of people just run their standing end through this loop, and that works perfectly well. But you want to make sure if you had it too far to the center or all the way around here, you're putting a lot of strain on that connection. So it's better to have it around here. Okay. Once you've got both straps placed, the next step is the hammock. I package mine up with the bug net still attached because that fits well inside this pack, and a lot of people get hammocks with integrated bug nets. I just like a separate bottom entry one because I don't like messing around with zippers near all my delicate hammock fabrics. But I'll get this attached up and show you up close how these work with the cinch buckle in just a moment. We've got the hammock completely up now, so time to give you a quick tour of how all the system parts work together. Here we're attached to our anchor with our suspension system. That runs down to this cinch buckle, which lets me adjust the length of my suspension for getting the precise angle and degree of tension that I want. Then these continuous loops that are sewn into the end of the hammock run up and hook over these legs on this cinch buckle. This is nice because it means I don't have to have the buckle threaded to the continuous loop, which makes it easier to set up the suspension and then just hook the hammock onto it. From there, I have this outer mesh bug nut around the entire hammock. It cinches closed over the hammock ends and then clips onto the continuous loop so that even if the cinch fails, it doesn't completely fall down. Then we've got the fabric body of the hammock hanging loose in here. There's a big cinchable opening underneath that you've seen I'll step under and into. And then the hammock with me in it opens out flat like this. Across the top we have what's called a structural ridge line. This does some technical things with helping set the sag of the hammock. I personally like a looser hang, and this is a fixed ridge line set by the company that made my hammock. So especially when I'm not in it and there are things in my organizer, it hangs a little low. But it is basically just a guide to help you set your hammock at what's considered the most common standard comfortable angle. And then on that ridge line, I have this big ridge line organizer, which has a whole bunch of pockets so I can access stuff while I'm inside the hammock. There's also a few things I'll clip onto the ridge line itself sometimes. Up on this other end, we have the double-ended stuff sack hanging out, and the same kind of connections on this end for the bug net and for the suspension. All right, it is finally time for some of the final essential pieces of the hammock system, and that is the insulation. We're going to start with the top quilt. This is exactly like a top quilt that someone might use for ground sleeping on a sleeping pad. And you can use a sleeping bag for this if you want to, and that's what you've got. A top quilt just saves you a little bit of weight and space in your pack. It's got a sewn together foot box, but otherwise just an open quilt. And I like to put that in first because that fills out the space in the hammock and helps keep it from flipping around in ways I don't want when it's time to attach the underquilt. Next, it is time to attach the underquilt. This serves the same function that a sleeping pad does in a more traditional tent system. It provides insulation from underneath you. In a hammock, you have to worry not so much about temperature transmitting directly from the ground, but you have to worry a lot about heat loss from convective cooling. So this hangs underneath the hammock fabric, hooked up to the ends of the hammock with shock cord. I've got some loops tied in mine to tighten it to the degree that I want. But I can still untie those to loosen it up for warmer weather. And then this snugs up underneath you and lofts up with down and keeps you warm from below. So let's get that hung up. And that's the hammock set up with everything that I'll need for tonight. If there was any concern at all about rain or wind, I would want at least a tarp and maybe my underquilt protector, which is basically tarp material that's slung around the underquilt with the same kind of suspension. But since that's not a weather concern, at least for tonight and probably not tomorrow night either, For now, this is it for my setup, all the essential parts of my hammock for this camping trip. So for one last close-up look at all the parts, we have the anchor, which is a tree, with my suspension system running down it. This is the double-sided stuff sack that held the hammock and the bug netting. And then slung to it is the underquilt, and inside is the top quilt. And then on the structural ridgeline, we have a ridgeline organizer. I appreciate y'all for coming and checking out this video about the parts of a hammock system. I'm definitely going to keep making trip videos. You'll see later a video about the trip that I've been filming this on today. But I'm also excited to start making some more informational videos about hammock camping and backpacking as well. Let me know if there's anything else you'd like to know about. This idea actually came up because of one of my viewers asking me questions about what was involved in my hammock. So please leave any questions that you'd like to know more about in the comments of this or any of my other videos, and I'll try to make the time to tell you a little bit more about it. See you all next time, and have a good time out in the wild.